to the kingdom. Cheers. A toast to the king.
You elect will drink wine new with Yahweh Shai. You elect. As of right now, we say hopeful elect. You elect of Israel out there will drink wine new with our Lord Yahweh Shai in his Father's kingdom, which is going to be the kingdom of heaven here on this planet Earth once Yahweh Shai returns. When our Lord comes back, one of the first things he's going to do is have a toast with his men. He's going to have a toast with his men, those that stood stiffly for his name and his Father's name. Let's read this one more time. Matthew chapter 26, verse 29. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine, which is wine, which is made from grapes, as you know. And our Lord, he loves to drink. That's something that our Lord took pleasure in when he was here on this planet Earth. He's not going to do it anymore until he returns to do it with you, showing just how much he loves his elect, man. He's not even going to drink until he does it again with you. I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So what a moment that's going to be, man. And you can only imagine the quality of wine that's going to be. Our Lord Yahweh Shai, he has access to different things that we don't even know about, man. Access to different grapes you don't know about. Has access to an entirely different quality of life that we don't know about. But he's going to reveal it to you. He's going to give it to you when he returns. Now, you have what's called a loyal toast. A loyal toast. I'm going to read this real quick. A loyal toast is a salute given to the sovereign monarch or head of state of the country in which a formal gathering is given. In this case, the sovereign monarch or head of state would be Yahweh Shai. He's our sovereign monarch. He controls everything, man. But guess what? He's also going to extend that power to you elect. He's going to share that power with you. A loyal toast is a salute given to the sovereign monarch or head of state of the country in which a formal gathering is given, or by expatriates of that country, whether or not the particular head of state is present. In this case, the Lord will be present. So you're not going to have someone speaking for him, giving a toast. He's going to host the toast. He's going to be there, man. We're living in a time we're going to meet Yahweh Shai. You're going to meet him face to face, which is proof also that we have to be changed. We can't meet the Lord like this. He's going to change you. He's going to crown you, and he's going to toast with you. Now let's read some more. It says, it is usually a matter of protocol at state and military occasions and a display of patriotic sentiment at civilian events. The toast is usually initiated and recited by the host, which will be Yahweh Shai, before being repeated by the assembled guests in unison.
To the kingdom. Cheers.
Sometimes when Akim are among each other, we'll do little small toasts. Brothers may be like La Yashirala, holding up cups. But imagine the Lord himself hosting it, man. And we join in. And I was reading something else, and pretty much they said in order to have what they call a loyal toast, you would use wine. That's the beverage of choice. And once again, our Lord, he's coming back, and we're going to see him with all that power, man. But he's going to extend that power to you. Now, reading on a monarch, it says a monarch is a head of state for life or until abdication, in this case for life. And therefore, the head of state of a monarch may exercise the highest authority and power in the state. Or others may wield that power on behalf of the monarch. And that will be you joint heirs. You different men that are going to reign with the Lord, man. Usually a monarch either personally inherits the lawful right to exercise the state's sovereign rights, often referred to as the throne or the crown, or is selected by an established process from family or cohort eligible to provide the nation's monarch. In this case, the Heavenly Father Yahweh himself selected his son Yahushua. And once again, when our Lord returns, he's going to wield that power to you elect as well. Once again, he's going to change you, he's going to crown you, and he's going to have a toast with you. A kingly toast.
To the kingdom! Cheers! A toast with the king! Raise your glasses, my friends. A toast with the king! A toast with the king! Raise your glasses, everyone. A toast to a prosperous future! To the king! To our glorious future! To the victors, blow the spoils! Raise your glasses! Cheers! Raise your chalices to the golden age of our kingdom! A toast to the king!
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who may have came back to the obedience, all right, through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. All right, and what I want to get into this morning, morning news and prophecy. Okay, and as we know, all right, there's been a lot of events, unfolding, dealing with, the tensions, between these different nations. Okay, ever since the first of the year, all right, the very beginning of the year, you had, America make its move on Venezuela. All right, and there's been a ripple effect ever since then. All right, there started a ripple effect amongst, certain economies. It has caused a ripple effect, dealing with, alliances, dealing with these nations, looking at America in a certain type of way and beginning to side more, with China and Russia. And it's all culminating, into the will of the Lord being carried out on the earth, as we get into, the thorns and briars of these skirmishes sometimes. We have to always home everything or center everything around the narrative of prophecy, okay? And to sum everything up that we see happening, the Lord, okay, is making moves and putting things in place to fulfill, all right, prophecy, man, okay? Which these last three prophecies that we await, All right, Jacob's trouble, and the civil unrest. All right, the MOTB being mandated, and this third world's war. Okay, and what we see is everything is in place needed for the Lord to cause all these things to happen and happen quickly. Okay, that's why the scriptures speak about how salvation is nearer than when we believe. Okay, because all the components, all right, needed for these prophecies to come to pass, okay, are being set in place, and a lot of it is in place. Okay, so one thing we have to remember, all right, we're dealing with America, because lately, with America, they've been beating their chest. They went down and got, the Venezuela president Maduro, and what you seen was the sense of strength. America, there was a big flex, with strength, so called. Okay, and people, just as the scriptures say, was taking on this mindset: who can make war with the beast? Russia ain't got nothing on us. China ain't got nothing on us. Blah, blah. And people was running, with their narrative. Okay, due to the propaganda, machine, hyping up, all right, what the American military did in Venezuela. All right. So what we have to understand is Russia is raised up just to take out Babylon. Okay. The purpose of Russia, okay, becoming a powerful military in the earth is all due to Yahweh Bashim Shah raising up Russia, okay, along with assembly of other nations to take out Babylon. And Russia plays a very critical part because it's known as the chief prince. And we're going to get into these things, man. All right. So don't never see America. Yes, it has been the hammer of the earth. And I'm saying that in past tense intentionally. Okay. America has been the hammer of the earth, but now it's time for the hammer to be broken. Okay. Can America still destroy a lot of shit? Yes. Okay. They have amazing destructive power. Okay. But are they ready to wage war? Okay. Against these other superpowers and prevail? Hell no. They finna get their ass handed to them, man. Okay. America is going to be embarrassed in this third world war. That's part of the judgment of the Lord for America. They finna get their ass embarrassed, man. Okay? When Yahweh Shah come back, America gonna be on his back. Okay? The little remaining troops that's left, gonna try to gather, okay, with these other nations, okay, to fight Yahweh Shah. And that's gonna be, all right, in the instant, gone, dust. All right, as we read in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. But what we have to understand, Russia is being customized, all right, to lead these other nations to take down the whore. Okay, it's gonna go bad for America when they take their ass across that ocean, man. Okay, all this other shit America been doing, like I said, America hasn't fought a first world country in actual war since 1942. Okay, 44 when they fought who? Germany. And guess who helped them take Germany down? Because Germany was kicking everybody ass. They was kicking the whole Europe ass. When you go into World War I and II, Germany was kicking everybody ass, man. Okay, they was running through Europe. Okay, and America jumped in. All right, and America had to team up with Russia, the USSR at that time, to take down Germany, man. Okay, did America go on the run? Absolutely. Okay, America was a military the earth has never seen. Okay, they had reach. They was able to project power, and they're still able to project power. Okay, but now there's a resistance. There's a counter to that power. Okay, so America, they had a military like the earth has never seen. What they was capable to do. It's not Babylon the Great for nothing. Okay, but now we're at a time where it's time for the hammer to be broken, and the Lord has, all right, raised up Russia to play a major part in breaking that hammer, breaking that hammer asunder, man. Okay, so let's go here. Let's get Ezekiel 38. Okay, and then I got a few videos I want to get into. But let's get Ezekiel 38, and this is in the AMP. Okay. So let's go here to Ezekiel 38 and 1. It says, Ezekiel 38 and 1, it says, "And the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Gog in the land of Magog, the chief prince of the chief ruler, okay, of Meshach and Tubal, which is Turkey, and prophesy against him." Okay, so the Lord is against Russia. It ain't like we're pro-Russian. Okay, we're pro-prophecy. Okay, and we just understand according to prophecy, Russia is raised up to take down Babylon, man, along with these other nations. Russia's not going to do it by itself. Okay, because it's going to take a conglomerate of nations, all right, to embarrass America, man. Okay, like I say, America is still a mighty military, but they're in decline. Okay, and the Lord has raised up a counter to America, man. See, it's about what the Lord is doing. Damn America track record, what is done, which like I say, since World War II, they've been fighting, all right, third world, second tier countries, man. Okay. And they've been terrorizing, and people have dared to challenge, what they do because of, the capability of the American military. But now these other nations possess capabilities, man, to counter America, man. And it's going to all come together to embarrass the whore in this third world war. Okay? So we're not pro-Russia. We're not pro-China. We're not pro-Iran. We're pro-prophecy, man. We're just giving the commentary according to Yahweh Bashim Shai of how it's finna go down. Okay? Let's go to verse 3. And it said, matter of fact, I want to get this because Elder Apostle Tohar, he brought this out, concerning dealing with the chief prince. So when you go into, all right, which we know the word prince, okay, goes into shar in the Hebrew, okay, and then you go into this word chief, okay, in the Hebrew, which is what? Ra'ash, okay. So if you put those two words together, Ra'ash, shar, all right, or chief prince in the Hebrew, you get Russia, all right. So in the Hebrew, chief is Ra'ash and prince is shar. Okay, so you put those two words together, Ra'ash, shar, okay, and you get Russia. Okay, you can't make it up. All right, so Russia goes back to chief prince. Okay, and what is the chief prince? It says the head, the top, the summit, the upper part. All right, the chief. Okay, Russia's a chief to these other nations, man. All right, the head, the front, the beginning, the choice, the best. Okay, so Russia, all right, the Lord has Russia as being the head, okay, of this ally of these alliances of these other nations to take down America, man. All right, Russia is the head of that alliance that has been raised up to take down America. Okay, so this is the Lord's doing. Damn America and all the hoorah and beating their chest. No, the Lord has raised up an alliance that's gonna make America look like a little boy. Okay, they finna get their ass embarrassed, man. America is past tense. It's over. You see, that military dominance is over. That's why they gotta do gimmicks. Okay, that's why they gotta do the propaganda and the gimmicks. And we're gonna show you Russia ain't doing gimmicks. Okay, you see, America internet thugging, man. You see, this shit look cute for the internet. Okay, Russia not doing it, and we're gonna go into it. Okay, it says, and say, thus said the Lord power, behold, I am against you, O God, chief ruler of Meshach and Tubal. Like I said, the Lord's against Russia too, because Russia, Yahweh Shai gonna come. All right, Russia and these allied nations, okay, gonna do America in, and then Yahweh Shai coming to do all these nations in. Okay. So Russia, all right, ain't in the Lord's favor. Russia is just a throwaway weapon that the Lord has customized, okay, to gather these other nations that are anti-America to take this whore down, man. Okay. Ezekiel 30 and 4 says, I will turn you around and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out in all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them magnificently clothed in full armor, a great horde with buckler, all right, small shield, and right, and large shield, and all them wielding swords, man, which is weaponry, man. Okay, so it's the Most High that has Russia's weaponry on another level and their defense. You see, we haven't seen these Russia's defense systems activated, okay, on the level that we're going to see them. See, all them airstrikes that America used to just, because America power comes from their special forces and their air force. Okay, American Army ain't never just been superb. Okay, but their air force, all right, I'll say them aircraft carriers and their special forces, that's been the bread and butter of the American military. Okay, but the Lord, you know, has put it on the spirit of these Russian men to come up with these defense systems, these air defense systems, man. All right, it's going to neutralize America's air attacks, man. All right, America not going to have air superiority in this war. Okay, fighter jets coming down. Okay, fighter jets coming out of the sky, baby. Ain't gonna be no more, air strikes with, with no consequences. And that's one thing too. America, they're not used to taking losses. They fought these wars since World War II, and they haven't taken significant losses in none of these wars that they fought since World War II. Because they fight in these lower tier countries. Okay, they fight in countries that don't even have air force. Okay, or no type of missile defense system. Okay, so they're able to just go in and have their way. Special forces come in and topple the government. Okay, Air Force able to come in and destroy infrastructure. And then by the time the army get there, it ain't much to do. You see? So now what we're finna see is America's bread and butter is finna be neutralized in this war. Okay? America finna go into uncharted territories, man. Okay? And it says Persia, which is Iran, Kush, Ethiopia, Put, Libya, North Africa, which all these nations have alliances with Russia. Okay, and especially Iran. And what Trump did in Venezuela, it made Iran more valuable to China and Russia. Okay, because they were able to, supplement some of the oil they was getting from Iran by the oil they was getting from Venezuela. But now, since they've been cut off from Venezuela, they're more dependent on Iran. Okay, which is going to make them more prone to defend and help Iran. Okay, whenever we finally get into America being in an all-out war with Iran, Russia and China, all right, have to get in. So the Lord just moving chess moves for his will to be fulfilled in the earth. Okay, so Iran's value has increased to China and Russia. Okay, so when they do go down between these small hats, America and Iran, when they really go down, okay, China and Russia getting in there. Okay, because you don't cut them off to making Iran their primary source of this crude oil, man. Okay, and Russia has plenty of oil as well. All right, but Iran has the third highest reserves of their oil. Okay, so now Iran is getting more capital to invest into what? Their military. Okay, so this is playing out exactly according to plan, man. Okay, like I say, don't be fooled by the American Hollywood production, man. Okay, as if they, all right, as if they got this thing figured out. Okay, nah, man, it's gonna go bad. Okay, it says with them all, it says Persia, Iran, all right, Kush and Put, or Libya or North Africa, with them, all of them with shield and helmet, man. all right, which is military hardware, man. And Russia and China been scrapping Iran down. Okay, and see, that's the thing. Everyone loves to talk about America. America can do the smallest thing. Oh, it's so great. They can't. Nobody want to see America. America's so great. Every little thing America do. Okay, they just get. Okay, of course, you a multi-trillion-dollar military. Okay, you should be able to do the things you do. Okay, especially against these weaker countries, much weaker countries. But every time America does something, oh, this is so great. It just magnified, made it seem like it's just so terrific, and you know. But then nobody talk about the L's America be taking. America be taking hella L's, hella L's. Their military be taking hella L's by weaker countries, man. Okay, but that's never talked about. Okay, but the Lord finna make it to where, hey, it's undeniable, man. Okay, that America has declined, okay, from being the dominant military power. Ezekiel 38:6 said, Gomar and all his troops, which is Turkey, Beth, Togarmah, from the remote parts of the north, and its troops, many people with you, man. So Russia, these nations are, gravitating to Russia, okay, and Russia's their chief prince, okay, to these nations, man. Russia is leading the charge to take down Babylon, man. Okay, and when you go into the scripture, we're gonna keep going into it. It always ends with Russia, okay, rising up. All right, and these nations rising up under Russia, man. Okay, and we're gonna get that in prophecy. But what I want to do here, I pulled up something in the chat. We'll get back to it. I pulled up something in the chat dealing with a chief prince. Okay. So I said, what would be the duties of a chief prince in a region as regard to other princes? In Ezekiel 38:4, what are the custom linked to putting hooks in the jaws of a wild beast? Okay. And the scripture say we'll put hooks in the jaws of Magog. Okay. So let's go into it. Duties of a chief prince over other princes. It says in the ancient Near Eastern world, all right, a chief prince was not merely symbolic. He functioned as a regional overlord among lesser rulers. Okay, so Iran, India, okay, North Korea. You see, Pakistan. All these are nuclear capable nations, man. Okay, those countries in Africa. Okay, certain countries in Africa that made alliances, with Russia, where they're lesser rulers, even China. Okay, compared to Russia, it's a lesser ruler, and Russia's a chief prince over those nations, man. It said political and administrative. It says suzerainty, if I'm saying it right, over lesser princes, which is just being the overlord. Another way of saying overlord over lesser princes. Other princes retain local rule, but old alliance, arbitration of disputes, okay, between subordinate rulers, collection of tribute, goods, labor, or military support, representation of the region in treaties with foreign powers. Because Russia speaks on the behalf of multiple nations, all right, when they're, addressing, all right, foreign policy, man. Or they condemning the actions of America when they're speaking on behalf of multiple nations, man. Okay, most of the time, Russia is speaking on behalf of China and Iran. Okay, it says military. It says supreme military commander in times of war. Okay, so these alliance of nations that's going to come against America, this assembly of nations, as it says in Jeremiah, Okay. Well, Russia's the supreme military leader of this alliance against the West. Okay. That's the position that the Lord has Russia in, man. Okay. And Russia getting ready to handle their work, man. Russia finna handle their business, man. Okay. You see, before they're judged and taken out. Okay. Because them Edomites, them Russians, they're going to captivity as well, man. All right. The Edomites and the heathens, with whoever in Russia that's not the elect of Israel, because you got a lot of Israelites in Russia. Okay. Because Apostle Tahar also goes into the Scythians, what you read about in the New Testament, one of the epistles of Apostle Paul, he addressed the Scythians, and he addressed them as being able to believe. Okay. But you go into the Scythians and goes into the founders, of Rus, which would later become, Russia. Okay. So it's Jakes over there. There's a lot of Jakes over there in Russia. Okay. But ultimately it's an Edomite government. It's like the black sheep of this beast system. Okay. And the elites, they have their hand in Russia as well. But it's the will of the Lord. Damn what the elites got going on. Sometimes we can get too caught up in the elites do they control, they elites and do, and I know I get into it. But what the Lord want to happen? Damn what the elites got going on. What the Lord said gonna happen, man. Okay? And it says supreme military commander in times of war, mobilization of allied princes. What did it say in Ezekiel? Come forth, thou and all thy bands. Okay, that's the duty of a chief priest to assemble the invasion, to assemble the advancement of troops. Okay, to supply military resources to it's it's alliances, man. Okay, it says mobilization of allied princes for joint campaigns. Ezekiel 38 is a joint campaign of these nations that have joined themselves into Russia, man. You read Ezekiel 38. Okay. And that joint campaign is underway. All right. It says strategic leadership deciding when and where armies moved. Okay. Deciding when and where armies move. You see? So even with certain situations in Iran, because you look at if y'all brothers get a chance, man, look at that. It's an old interview a few years ago with Vladimir Putin and Tucker Carlson. Okay, and you can tell Vladimir Putin, okay, is one of them ancient warlords coming back. He has to be one of them ancient warlords coming back. The way that he talk, because he talks with nobility, okay, but it's stern. He has this stern, noble countenance, man. Like he's here for one purpose, man, and that's to take down the whore. Okay, to begin to take down of the whore, because Yahweh Shai gonna come and finish off the whore. Yahweh Shai gonna come put dirt on this bitch, man. Okay, but y'all get a chance, it's pretty lengthy. I think it's over 2 hours. But if y'all get a chance, you brothers, that's into that, watch that interview with Vladimir Putin and Tucker Carlson from a few years ago. All right, and he was going through the history. He know American history better than most Americans, man. Because that's what nobles did. They knew the histories of different kingdoms. Okay, so going back here, because even because you go into Putin and his countenance, he's extremely calculated. He got that poker face, like you really never know what he's thinking. He don't talk a lot. Okay, and a lot of times when Iran will show restraint, you have to believe that they're counseling with Russia. Okay, certain times Russia, like, look, do what you gotta do. And certain times, like, you have to understand Russia, because Russia see the bigger picture. You see, because they the chief prince, so the Lord got them operating to where they see the bigger picture is to take down the whore. Okay, don't get caught up in these little pettiness, these little skirmishes with these small hats. Remember, the whore is the play. Okay, this is remember this is war. This is not a bar fight. Okay, American the small hats, they move like they're moving like this. This is a bar fight. Okay, or a fight in the hallway at school. No, man, this is war. All right, this is strategy. This is patience, man. Okay, but what we're seeing the Lord speeding this thing up and putting everything in place. Okay, it says so I want to go here. It says, so when Ezekiel describes Gog as a chief prince, he is portraying him as a dominant regional ruler exercising authority over multiple nations or princes, not a solitary king. And that's the position that Russia has, man. These nations, all right, they look at Russia as like big homie. Like the Lord got it set up to where, Russia is their salvation, but it's going to be extremely temporary. All right, because the Howard Shah gonna come in the midst of it. Okay, America's getting their ass handed to them. Okay, at home and abroad. Okay, Howard Shah is gonna come. Okay, and clear all the chess pieces off the board. Okay, now it says hooks in the jaws in Ezekiel 38:4. It says custom and meaning. It says I will turn you around and put hooks into your jaws and bring you out. All right. It says literal ancient custom. This image comes from a real well-known practices. It says control of wild animals, large beasts, bulls, crocodiles, lions were sometimes restrained with hooks or rings through the nose or their jaws. This symbolized complete dominion over a powerful creature. Okay. Treatment of captives, the Assyrian and the Babylonian reliefs, all right, depict defeated kings and captives, hooks or rings through lips or noses, ropes attached to lead them away. This is a sign, all right, of humiliation and forced submission. Okay, prophetic meaning in Ezekiel. Ezekiel is using this imagery metaphorically, not describing a literal hook. The meaning is the Most High is sovereign over God's actions. The Most High is sovereign over God's action, which is Russia. Okay, God believes he is acting by his own ambition. In reality, the Most High is compelling and directing him just as a man controls a wild beast. Okay, so we have to, home everything into what the Lord is doing, man. Okay, yes, the elites have their hands in Russia. What that mean? Okay, what that mean? Okay, nothing. Russia is being controlled by the Most High. The elites are being controlled by the Most High. Okay, and they finna fulfill this will, and they're raised up to take down Babylon. Okay, it said the hook implies no escape, no autonomy, a divinely imposed course towards judgment. Okay, so Russia's been raised up, all right, for a tool of judgment, man. Okay, yeah, man, the spirit on them. It's the spirit of the Lord, man. Damn what the elites got going on. Yeah, they got their hands in all these different nations, man. Of course. Okay. Pretty much their talking point has been explained. So now what? The will of the Lord. That's what's now what. Okay. Like the brother put, Times one hope for elect. Putin recently told his soldiers they are doing the Most High's work. Exactly. All right. Because even Cyrus understood. Even Cyrus understood, man. You see, it's all the will of Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. All right. So if Putin ain't in control, the elites ain't in control, it's the Lord that's in control, man. Okay, and that hammer finna be broken. Okay, so America can keep playing tough. All right, but we know prophetically, man, America doomed. Okay, America ain't finna go over there and kick no ass, man. America, like I said, they gonna let off some shit. Okay, don't get it twisted. They still got some capability. Okay, but it ain't gonna go nowhere near like the majority of the earth think it's gonna go when America carry their ass across their water, man. Okay, it says in biblical thought, wild beasts often, okay, symbolize chaotic power, violent empires, nations acting without regard for the Most High. So hooks in the jaws, irresistible divine control over an aggressive, powerful ruler. Okay, and it's the Lord that's making Russia more aggressive, man. Okay, putting them hooks in the jaws, man. Okay, it says how the two ideas connect. Chief prince, a ruler who commands other princes and nations, hooks in the jaws. Even such a ruler is not independent of the Most High. Okay, so it's the Lord that's controlling Russia, while Russia is controlling these other nations. Okay, and then what the elites got going on and trying to do, they take all this shit. The elites through, man. Okay, they finna go into slavery, man. Okay, the Lord got it from here, which he always, the Lord always is in full control. Okay, but now we're going to see this thing start working towards prophecy, man. Damn, all the attacking this that the elites got going on in the background. Okay, prophecy finna be all right unveiled, man. Okay, this is the brother Thousand One Hopeful Leg 144, and I'm going to segue to this this video as well. Okay, I want to start off with this one. This is a quick one from Dabu, just a real quick one. So, yeah, this Proverbs 21:1. The brother Thousand One Hopeful Leg. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth them whithersoever he will. So the Lord got hooks in all these nations' jaws, man. Okay, controlling them and bringing them to where he wants them to be. That's why everybody is going to meet up in the valley of Jehoshaphat, man. Because the Lord is leading, the Lord is drawing these nations out, man. Okay, it's the Lord that's drawing these nations out. All right, you see, I think that's it might be Second Ezra 15, and I have to find it 20. How he gonna bring all nations to summon him? It's around there. Her brother finally can post it, but I'm gonna play this real quick, okay? Because what we have to understand during the same time that America went and got Maduro, okay, they also tried to do a hit on Putin. They struck, all right, Putin residence, one of his residents where he be at, okay, and they tried a drone strike to take out Putin, all right, and this is how Russia is responding, okay, and also America been sieging those Russian oil tankers, which a lot of those oil tankers are called ghost fleets. There's nothing on those ships, okay, those are ghost ships with nothing on them. Okay, that America is blockading. But then you got Pete Hegseth, okay, getting on there with his. If you think Pete Hegseth got this thing figured out, okay. I got 2 bridges in China that I can sell right now. Okay, if you think Pete Hegseth got anything figured out, man, when it comes to this third world war, okay, but you have that clown, boasting like, "Oh, we taking Russian oil tankers." And see, that's another thing. Like, American government acts like the American people. You know how niggas post every little single thing they do. Every little moment of the day they gotta post, hoping for a viral moment. That's how American military is operating, man. Like a nigga that just thriving to go viral. Yeah, we got Russian. We stopping Russian oil from coming from Venezuela. Most of those ships are empty because America is so predictable, man. That's another thing. When you really study this and get into this, man, America is so predictable in how they move. They're extremely predictable, man. Okay, because they're used to just dominate with force. So their strategy has become trash. Okay, when it comes to fighting actual war, their actual war strategy is trash. Okay, they just been relying on this unlimited military budget. Okay, and being able to just outbomb another nation, man. Okay. Well, let's play this, man. All right. Um,
This is Dabu 7, and we have confirmation that the very first Oreshnik hypersonic missile from Russia has been used and launched on Kiev. You can see just how wild looking these missiles are when they come down. You can see how they almost resemble lightning strikes. Look at that. Look at that. These things zipping in, destroying anything in an instant, and it's highly unlikely anyone is going to be able to stop them. So now the leadership in Kiev is telling everyone, get out now, leave. They struck one of these major underground storage facilities. Most of the city is without electric. They're telling a lot of the buildings and people that have buildings that have the power out in them that they should get out and leave, and they should drain the water from the building because of the freezing temps. This is something that we've expected for some time if a peace agreement was not brought to the table. I expect more strikes. Russia can really put it on them from here, and they're not just going to hit the city and not try to surround it or take it. If they take this city, their main city, I mean, this thing's like pretty much done. We're at a point here where Zelensky's getting back into a corner, and they could do something very crazy, like tactical nuke toward Moscow or something. That's only going to get them nuked for real, like big time. But this is a big move. Putin unleashing his hypersonics. Again, the leadership in Kiev saying, get out now. And I don't know where this is going to go from here. One thing's guaranteed. It'll be an escalation, and it'll probably be a strike back on Moscow from Ukraine here.
yeah, so what I wanted to show you is just those hypersonic, okay, Russian missiles, how they just come in like lightning. Okay. And I got a more, thorough breakdown, okay, of this strike. But I just wanted really that you see that visual, okay, of how fast the missile is coming. Okay. They're coming like they're hitting the ground. Like once you see the missile, if you blink, it's on your ass. Okay. So I just want to show that visual. Now let's go here to Colonel Douglas McGregor. All right, and he's gonna they can't do nothing with them, brother. Nothing. Okay, Europe finished. Okay. That's why they're gonna turn on America, man. Because they're gonna be super stupid for Europe, to try to deal with Russia, deal with that barrel with them, man. Okay. So let's go here. This is let me see. Oh, here you go, right here. All right, so he's really finna get into it. We're gonna expound. He's gonna break it down. Remember, he's ex-American military. Okay, you see, most people talking about America so this and America so that, and America, man, just so they don't know what the hell going on, man. Okay, you folks don't know what the hell going on. They just if you say what would an American invasion on Russia look like? What's the first thing they would have to do? They don't know. They just repeating the echo chamber. Okay, they don't know the logistics. Okay, and the practical, strategy that you would need for America to even go to war, a direct war with Russia, man. Okay, they're just repeating echo chambers of American society, that this big, tough, bad America, which, don't get it twisted, America has been kicking ass for a long time, and they are able to project power like no other military. Okay? But according to prophecy, the Lord will raise up a counter to that American power. You see? Well, they're not going to be able to do the things that they once did. Okay? So let's play this. All right?
Look, what we are witnessing in Washington and Brussels right now is nothing short of a tragic comedy orchestrated by lunatics, complete lunatics. They are totally blind to the physical realities on the ground. We are hearing these hysterical screams from European capitals, empty condemnations about escalation and brutality. But let's be frank. Let's sweep away the diplomatic nonsense and look at the military map. What the Russians just did with the Oreshnik missile was not merely a warning, as the stenographers in the Western media are trying to spin it. No, it was a lesson in physics, a brutal lesson in kinetic energy and velocity that NATO has absolutely no answer for. The Russians launched a hypersonic ballistic missile, a weapon moving at estimated speeds of 13,000 miles per hour. That is, let that sink in, Mach 10. There is no system on this planet, not the Patriot, not the IRIS-T, that can touch it. It leaves the atmosphere, separates its warheads, and comes down vertically like flaming meteors. And the result? A deadly silence in Lviv, right on the doorstep of Poland. This is Western Ukraine. NATO thought this was a sanctuary. They thought they could use it as a logistics hub with impunity. Wrong. Completely wrong. The Russians just proved they can touch anything, anywhere, at any time, and we are powerless to stop it.
Over. Okay, finish. Mach 10. You know, and Russia got 5 different variations of their hypersonic missile. So they're just one of 5 versions of their hypersonic missiles. And you know they ain't shoot the best out yet. You know who they shoot, you know who they saving the best for. Okay, 13,000 miles an hour. Going back to prophecy of America being destroyed in an hour. Okay? In the hour, man. You see? America ain't got no answer for this shit that Russia on over there, man. Okay? While Russia talking about, while America talking about, oh, we took Russia oil. Okay? It's like a nigga bragging about taking another nigga chain. Okay? In the club or something, man. You see? While America playing these social media games, Russia over there really wrecking shit. Russia got boots on the ground. Russia is getting experience. The worst thing you can give another military is experience. You know, that's the worst thing you can do to your enemy is give his military experience, man. And Russia's getting all this experience, and they're learning how to combat American weaponry. You see, because all this weaponry that they're sending to Ukraine, well, guess what? Russia is learning how to fight against American military hardware. Okay, so Russia is getting all this experience, man, while America, okay, is going to kidnap Maduro. Okay, taking, you know, doing the blockade on oil. Okay, then posting it like they just some great authority, man. Okay, nah, man, Russia really out here. You see, Russia really out here, man, and they put all them EU nations on notice. Okay, like look, because then he gonna keep going into it. I'm gonna let him talk and expound, but he gonna keep going into it, man. But when he said that Mach 10, man, that's crazy work, and you know that it ain't the best they got. Okay, let's play this.
The stupidity of the Western elite, specifically the neocons at the State Department and the Pentagon, is that they actually believe they can play a game of cat and mouse with a nuclear superpower without consequences. They tore up the INF Treaty in 2019, thinking it would give the United States an advantage. And now, when the weapon system that U.S. officials suspect is an evolution of the RS-26 Rubej, they act surprised. It is laughable. President Putin, a man I have always said is extremely cautious and patient, waited. He waited until the Biden administration made the strategic blunder of authorizing Ukraine to fire U.S.-supplied ATACMS deep into Russia, and the answer is the Oreshnik. The name means hazel. It sounds gentle, but it carries multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles. We saw it in Dnipro in November, and now we see it in Lviv. Clusters of light tearing down from the sky, separating into 6 warheads, each likely carrying submunitions. It is the nightmare of every missile defense commander The West calls it escalation. I call it the end of the illusion of invulnerability. The Russians fired it in November. It wasn't even fully developed. And they are firing it now to establish one fact: Moscow is not bluffing. Look at the logistical devastation. This is how real war is waged. Not with TikTok videos, but by destroying the enemy's nervous system, energy. In this latest combined strike, the Russians didn't just use the Oreshnik. They unleashed a coordinated firestorm of 242 drones, 13 ballistic missiles, and 22 cruise missiles. The target: energy facilities and civilian infrastructure. The result is that more than 500,000 households in the Kyiv region are in the dark. Mayor Klitschko, a poor man trying to run a dead city, is begging residents to leave because they cannot access heat or power. Why? Because without electricity, you have no water, no heat, and crucially, you cannot run the electric locomotives to move ammunition to the front. Kyiv is freezing. Temperatures are plummeting to -5 degrees Celsius. Thousands of apartment blocks have no heat. This is classic warfare. It is
Russia
exactly what General
waging real strategic war. Okay? Russia really out here, and Russia ain't got to post everything they doing because they really outside. Okay? They ain't got to do the gimmicks. Okay? Putin them ain't on TikTok and Twitter all goddamn day, man. Okay? These guys really out here, man. You see? And that was strategic. And then he did it in the dead of winter. Okay? So now you got Kyiv, okay, in the dark. All right? And it's freezing. So how much pressure they're going to put on, all right, the Ukrainian, okay, government, man? You see? These are strategic strikes for war. Russia's actually at war right now. And Russia could have been wiped off Ukraine. Okay? But they're being conservative because they know it's a bigger picture. They know they got to conserve themselves for the whore. The Lord got the spirit on Russia to know they got to conserve themselves for the whore. Okay? So the Ukraine could have been over with, man. Or they could have, and Russia could have did what to Ukraine what America did to Venezuela. Okay? They could have been kidnapped Zelensky if they was on that. All right, KGB, okay, certain Russian special forces, they could have went and got Zelensky. They could have been blew up what Zelensky state, but they don't move like that. Okay, Iran, the small hats, they like to blow up the whole building, to kill, certain Iranian leaders. And oh man, it was so smart. It was cowardly, man. It was so smart how they did that, man. Man, they so smart, man. They knew where he was at, man. They blew up. That's cowardly, man. Okay? They haven't stepped one, the IDF hasn't set one boot on Iranian soil, man. Okay? And Iran could do that to the small hats. You don't think Iran can touch anywhere in Israel? Okay, you don't think if they wanted Netanyahu that they can obliterate okay his residence, man? Okay, but they're not waging war like that. They're not waging war like barbarians and cowards, man. Okay, hey, you can tell these are ancient warriors, man, that the Lord has raised up over there. Okay, let me see. So let's play this some more.
It is what the Allied Air Forces did to Germany in 1944. You destroy the enemy's, you turn the rear massive liability, and right now is an economic. When Russia flips the switch, the country shuts down. It is that simple. The math does not lie. But listen to what the Western leaders are saying. Keir Starmer, Emmanuel Macron, and the German Chancellor, they call it a war crime. the hypocrisy, the disgusting hypocrisy. When we bombed Serbia in
And he mentioned Emmanuel Macron, you know, speaking against what Russia did. Okay. But here it is. I just found out, you know, that he's in the bunker hiding with his husband. Okay. The French president, you know, because the farmers are going irate. I got to look more into it. Okay. But this nigga here, the president of France, this nigga is in the bunker hiding with his husband. Okay. The West is finished, man. Okay. The West is in the embodiment of that ancient Roman, you know, what they call ancient Roman boy lovers, man. Epstein Island, all this old crazy, you know. They not ready for this war that the Lord finna wage on the West, man. All right, because they'll say Russia and them are just tools, because they gonna be disposed of too. Iran, Elon, you know, all of them, China, all of them going to captivity as well. Okay, and they gonna get some hits. You know, America gonna get some shit off. Okay, and they ain't gonna just go unscathed. Okay, but ultimately America finna be dominated. Man. Okay, but he just brought up Macron. You know, I was listening to something earlier, man, talking about he in a bunker with his husband. And I said, look at these niggas, man. You know, let's play this.
1999, when we dismantled power grid. We called it shock and awe. We called it degrading command and control. On Lviv, collecting missile debris, national courts. Ridiculous. Here and the population is freezing. The Ukrainian foreign minister screams that this is a grave threat to the European continent. Yes, finally, he says something accurate. It is nuclear payloads. Today, it carries conventional explosives, but tomorrow it could bring the sun to your doorstep in Berlin or Paris. Russia notified the U.S. before the launch to prevent a nuclear.
Hey, and that's what we have to understand, because those projectiles, the Reshnik, okay, those hypersonic projectiles, they was created to carry nuclear warheads, but now they just conventional warheads that they're using. Okay, but he made a point. He said, look, them hypersonic projectiles are made for nuclear warheads. Okay, so they can swap out them conventional warheads and put them things on there. And hey, he said, he said Russia can bring the sun to your doorstep. And see, that's the ancient war talk, man. Okay, look, he said Russia gonna bring the sun to your doorstep, man. Okay, America hyped up about this. Look, Venezuela, this we got Maduro, man. Russia trying to bring the sun to your doorstep, man. At 13,000 miles an hour, man. That's hey, the West playing. Okay, and y'all believe that hype you want to. Okay, like America finna go throw his weight around, man. America finna go get that work over there, man. And that work coming here to America, man. Okay, swiftly. You see?
Clear misunderstanding. That is professionalism. That is escalation control, something the children in Washington know nothing about. And do not forget the geography. Where is Lviv? It is an hour's drive from the Polish border. That missile landing there is a direct message to Warsaw and Washington. We see you, we can touch you, and you can do nothing. The CIA says Ukraine didn't target Putin's home, that Russia is fabricating excuses. Who cares? Russia says they did, and Russia responded. That is how the world works. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. Russia is reminding the West of its vast destructive arsenal. The Kremlin claims they have many Oreshniks in production and may station them in Belarus. Do you know what that means? It means the flight time to European capitals is measured in minutes. NATO is strategically brain dead. They keep pouring weapons into a bottomless pit, hoping for a miracle. But the Oreshnik is a bucket of ice water in their faces. An intermediate range ballistic missile with a potential range of over 3,000 miles has just turned Europe's missile defense shield into a child's toy. Finally, we must look at the economic and human picture. Ukraine is collapsing. It is not just the electricity. Russia is now hitting civilian vessels in the southern ports, a ship carrying soybeans, another carrying grain hit. They are tightening the economic noose. No exports, no power, no industrial production. Modern war is a war of numbers. Russia produces artillery shells and missiles 24/7. They have infinite resources. And Ukraine, what do they have? Empty promises in a darkened capital where people wake up at midnight to explosions and collapsing ceilings. The story of that 41-year-old woman, Victoria Rudenko, whose apartment was rendered uninhabitable, is the microcosm of Ukraine. Everything is completely destroyed. It needs to be rebuilt from scratch. Exactly. And who will rebuild it? BlackRock, JP Morgan, or the American taxpayer? Russia will not stop. They will continue to grind the infrastructure into dust until Ukraine becomes an uninhabitable wasteland, or until a new government in Kyiv accepts reality. Neutral demilitarization and an end to being a NATO proxy.
And it's gonna go beyond Ukraine. All right, Russia gonna march through Europe. Okay, they gonna march through Europe. See, Russia already got boots on the ground, man. Okay, and Russia's military is growing expeditiously. Okay, I think the last time I checked, all right, there was like at 30,000 recruits a month. Okay, you got men in Russia that's they get what you call those checks, disability checks. You know, they're trying to get cleared to go to war. You know, they're trying to, revoke the disability so they can go to war. You see? I don't know if it's, Google Live, but I remember looking it up. Google is pro West, biased toward the West. All right. Let me see. I got one more video I want to get into. Just a quick one. Yep, and he told the truth. Let's get it. Well, I'm gonna say that because it's a precept I want to get. All right. But I got another video. So like I'm just looking stuff up on the fly. All right. This this Uncle Larry. All right. Last time we seen him, he was going ballistic. He was going ballistic on America. I mean, I listen to the OGs, man. Western media have you, repeating, okay, the madness of propaganda, man. Let's see, did a brother post that? But yeah, it's all the will of the Lord. The Lord is summoning, okay, the nations for war. All right, and the Lord has built up these particular nations to fulfill His will. Okay, but then the ultimate showcase of power is gonna be Yahweh Shai, the headliner, baby. You see, Russia is still the undercard. All right, Yahweh Shai, the headliner, baby. Okay. Second Ezra, this is the brother remnant loyal to Yahweh Shai. Second Ezra 15:20 said, "Behold, said the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me." Okay, so it's the Lord summoning all these kings of the earth to reverence Him. Okay, and who is the Heavenly Father going to send as His representative? Yahweh Shai. Okay, and then that's when we're going to see a whole nother level of power. Okay, this is Yahweh Shai going to run through whatever left in the midst of this third war. Yahweh Shai is going to run through that quickly. Okay, and ain't going to be a back and forth. It's going to be Yahweh Shai is coming all offense. You see, Yahushua and the angels, they come in all offense, man. Okay. And it says, 2 Ezra 15:20 said, Behold, said the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun, from the south and from the east and Lebanon, all right, to turn themselves one against another and repay, all right, the things that they have done to them. Okay. So this is the place where the Lord is going to have, the Lord is going to judge all these heathens in this third world war. He's going to use Russia and these alliance, all right, these allied nations under Russia to judge America, and then Yahushua is coming to judge whatever left. Okay, so World War III is judgment for all these heathens, man. Okay, but the Lord is going to, and in the midst of that, the Lord is going to allow these nations to get off on America, man. All right, they're gonna take off, like Jake and Callie say. They're gonna take off on America, man. Okay. So let's play a little bit of this, and then we'll get some more precepts. If a brother could post Revelation chapter 20, verses 7 and 8, and then if a brother could, trying to get all the precepts, that way we can just go straight into it. If a brother could post Jeremiah, all right, chapter 50 in verses 9. Yeah. Jeremiah 50 and 9. And whatever else you brothers see fit. But mainly that let's say the Revelation 27 and 8. Okay, and that Jeremiah 59. All right, but let's let this play a little bit, then we'll get those.
These people are collectively crazy because there is nothing that they can do that's going to alter the outcome in their favor. It is all in Russia's hands. Russia holds all the trump cards, and no matter what Europe does, even if they try to start a nuclear war, they're going to come out on the short end of that too. So Russia is looking to avoid that, but Russia has made it very, very clear that they will treat Europe, if Europe directly intervenes in the conflict, more so beyond what it has been doing up to this point, if they actually try to deploy troops, officially, as opposed to all this covert action nonsense, Russia will deal with them harshly, and will deal with them quickly, which means that's one of the reasons the Russians have been stockpiling the Oreshnik missile. They'll use the Oreshnik missile against Europe. They haven't been using it against Ukraine, other than that one time when they demonstrated its capability.
Right.
Quite an eye-opener.
Trump's national security strategy, though couched in language of a back patting and self-praise, does reject 80 years of Cold War liberalism, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is the equivalent of a couple that's together for 80 years, and one of them shows up one morning with the other with a letter of saying, "Hey, I think it's time for us to start seeing other people." So it could be the beginning of the divorce, but it's one thing to put it down on paper and to signal, yeah, we think Europe needs to shoulder all this responsibility and we're out of here, and to see whether or not that is actually done. So words on paper mean one thing,
and that's another thing dealing with the EU nations going to turn on the whore, because Trump is, pushing to abandon the EU. Okay, we have to understand the reason why Russia invaded Ukraine is because of America stockpiling weapons in Ukraine. Okay, so America started this war with Russia and Ukraine. All right, and now that this war is on the doorsteps of Europe, America like shit, y'all got it. You know? So that's gonna play a part also. Not only, the economic damage, the damage, the damage done economically, okay, to the EU because of this war, okay, because of the sanctions, okay, but because also the abandonment by America, okay. And then you can say, well, America funds 75% of NATO. Nigga, y'all the world reserve currency. Nigga, look at y'all military budget. Nigga, you should fund 75%. You see? And at the end of the day, it's just Edomites, arguing amongst one another, which is beautiful. Okay? Which is beautiful, man. Okay? And but this is gonna be another reason why, the EU nations are gonna shoot their nukes on America as well. Okay, they're gonna hate the horde, as the scriptures say. Okay? Because here it is, they started this war with Russia and didn't go nowhere near like they thought. They thought Ukraine could at least weaken. They didn't expect Ukraine to defeat Russia, but they thought, all right, Ukraine will weaken Russia and possibly create a regime change in Russia. Okay? But it's been the complete opposite. Putin's approval rating is like 85%. Okay? I say the military is growing. Okay? Russian manufacturing is off the chain. The way that they're able to, the military manufacturing is off the chain. Okay. So it's been the complete opposite. Why? Because it's the will of the Lord that's in effect. Okay. Let's play this.
Go back and look at the national security strategy under Biden in 2022, 2023, under Trump 17. Russia now has the largest economy in the world, is measured by GDP purchasing power parity. The only countries with a larger GDP are the United States, India, and China. So really 3 of the 4 biggest world economies now form the heart of BRICS. So it's anything but podunk. It is leading in technology in a variety of areas that has surpassed the United States. The United States is still struggling to produce one functioning, deployable hypersonic missile. Russia has at least 5 variants and has been stockpiling them. It is able to produce them. Russia has a vast, enormous natural resources. There is no other country in the world with the kind of resource base that Russia has, which explains why the West is so obsessed with removing Putin and getting control of Russia. We want that wealth for ourselves, not for the Russian people. Screw them. It's ours. That's our attitude.
And there you have it, man. And when he was saying this, I'm just thinking about the Lord setting it up. The Lord got Russia in the perfect position, okay, to do what it needs to do according to prophecy, man. Okay, which is to be a chief prince, okay, to this conglomerate of nations that's going to come against the West. Okay. Russia has vast resources, vast manufacturing, stockpiling hypersonic missiles, man. Okay, and that stockpile is coming over here across the Atlantic. Okay, that's what he's stockpiling for, to send all that over here across the Atlantic, man. Okay, over here to Babylon. Okay. Yeah, man, we good. Hey, we in a great position, man. So let's get this from the brother. It's the brother beyond Yashala, Revelation 27. It says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. And this is speaking of Esau. Okay, the children of Satan. You see, and he was loosed out of his prison, over there in the Caucasus Mountains. All right, over there close by Ukraine. Was Russia, Georgia today. Okay, because he was pushed out. When pagan Rome fell. All right, the Western Roman Empire fell. Well, the devil was pushed out. Okay, you have the Byzantine Empire. You know, Jake supplanted. You know, fully supplanted Esau. You know, Jake was ruling before then. Okay, but that was the completion of the pagan Roman Empire. All right, then you had the Byzantine Empire. Okay, so the devil fell, but then he was allowed to come back into power during the Renaissance, the rebirth. Okay, and what did he bring back? Okay, the deadly wound that was healed, which was the Roman Empire. All right, he revived the Greco-Roman Empire. Okay, and in the midst of him coming back, what did he do? It says, and he shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. And this is what this devil has done. Esau's rulership is based on deception and lies. Okay, his false interpretation of Christianity, of history, it's his pseudoscience. Okay, this man has established an empire of lies, man. Okay, but he was given that sword. He was blessed with that sword. You see, so he was able to be loose and go out and conquer, all right, and deceive. But what would it end up? All right, how would it end? Gog and Magog. You see that? So the Lord, okay, saying, okay, the Renaissance, because in these two precepts, it sums up this man's rulership. He will be loose, all right. The Renaissance, he will be able to go and conquer and establish governments in the earth again. Okay, have influence. He would deceive with his influence. Okay, but then immediately, Gog and Magog to gather together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. Okay, so this is how it ends. So the Lord raised up Russia for a very particular purpose, man. All right, then it says who numbers the sand of the sea, because this is the battle that's going to end this man's empire, man. Okay, let's go here real quick. I looked it up. Check this out. Show you that a prophecy is on point, man. Damn America, man. That hammer. Okay. It says, so I asked, it says, is Russia military growing? It says, yes, the Russian military is actively growing in size, with Kremlin order to expand active personnel to 1.5 million, driven by increased recruitment, higher defense spending, and massive production of equipment, making it stronger and larger than before the Ukraine war, position it as the world's second largest military after China, despite facing challenges. That's your answer. It says key indicators of growth: personnel expansion. President Putin ordered an increase to 1.5 million active troops, with a goal to reach nearly 2.3 or 2.4 million total personnel, a significant expansion funded by recruitment drives and bonuses, including for vulnerable populations and prisoners. Increased recruitment. Russia is recruiting tens of thousands of new soldiers monthly. Okay? Russia is recruiting tens of thousands of new soldiers monthly, raising the draft age and offering substantial incentives, all right, to bolster numbers. Surging defense. And see, this is the thing. You think Russia tripping about America taking an oil tanker or two? Okay, especially most of them are ghost fleets. No, man, this had nothing to do with Russia, all right, recruiting tens of thousands of soldiers a month. See, Russia is getting ready for real war. The West is focused on propaganda. Okay, man, Russia needs to do this, and Russia need to do exactly what it's doing, according to the will of Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. Okay, man, Russia weak, man. America just taking their oil. No, okay, that's not how it's going down. Okay, this is war. Remember, this ain't a bar fight or fight in the school hallway. Nigga bumping you two in the hallway. No, this is on a whole nother level, man. Okay? Russia, the Lord has Russia moving very strategic, getting ready for the real war, man, not the propaganda campaign. Okay? And it says surge in defense spending. It said military spending has risen dramatically. All right, beating their plowshares into swords, man. It said with budgets, all right, for 2025 to 2027, allocating significant funds in defense industries, ramping up production. It said the production boom. It said the defense ministry. It said the defense industry is producing vast quantity of tanks, armored vehicles, Ezekiel 38, artillery shells and missiles far exceeding pre-war levels. Okay? It says Russia is not just expanding, but also restructuring, forming new divisions and adding substantial air and naval assets, aiming for long-term, here you go, aiming for long-term confrontation with the West. Okay? You see, Russia is on assignment, man. Okay? And they're exactly on cue for where they need to be at as far as prophecy, man. Okay? There's another one. The brother beyond Yashala, Jeremiah 50:9, it says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. All right, with Russia the chief, but along with Russia, these other nations that have, all right, gravitated, all right, under the banner of Russia, man. Okay? Magog, the Medes, you see? And it says, start from the top, it said, for I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence shall she be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Okay? None shall return in vain. Okay? And we just seen a little glimpse of them hypersonics, man. You know, and there's plenty more where they came from. Okay? And then it's going to make its way over here to America, man. Okay? And finish this bitch off, man. So, I think that's the point. You know, it's so much more we always can get into, you know, speaking about the destruction of America. But I ended there, you know. So, yeah, I just want to get into that, you know, put things in perspective, you know, dealing with prophecy and what's happening in real time, you know, because that Western media echo chamber, you know, paint a completely different picture of what's what, you know. So, Lord will you, brothers, all right, and you sisters edified. Till next time, I say shalom, Kwam Yashala, Abba, Soon, shalom.